Following on from the previous video, we were trying to understand this, but we are familiar with this. Y equals the absolute value of x. We are familiar with this, and we can sketch this graph here. But when it comes to this here, it's quite strange. To really understand what's going on here, well, to try and sketch this graph here, you would sketch your y equals x as normal. So that would look something like this. But then for some reason, this absolute value of y here, it will disregard anything that's negative. If you try and put a point into, let's say if you try and put this point here, let's say it's -3 and this here is -3. If you put this, so this is your x, put it into here, put this into here, this point will not satisfy this. So for you, excuse me. For you to try and sketch this here, you would sketch your graph, okay? Sketch it as if it were y equals x as normal. So it would be like this, but then it will disregard everything that's negative, and then it will also you see the negative version of what's left. The negative version of what's left, it will get reflected along the x-axis. So when you have this here, you see your graph here will look like this now. So starting from here, if you have the absolute value of y equals x, then you can actually say y equals the positive version of x and also the negative version of x. Okay. So if you look at this, for you to try and understand this, you would try and sketch this graph as normal. So you would try and sketch y equals 4 minus x squared as normal. So it would look something like this. Okay, and then for some reason, because you've got an absolute value of y here, this thing here, this apps here will disregard everything that's negative, and then what's left? So for you, so starting from here, well, the thing is, what's left, it gets reflected, and then for some reason, all the points along this line here will satisfy this whole thing here. So from here, it will disregard everything that's negative. So everything that's positive here now is good. It will satisfy this whole thing here. So if you select a point on here, put the x into here, and then this is your y here. Put the y into here. It will satisfy this whole thing here. But then also the negative version will also satisfy this thing here. So from here you can jump to y equals the positive version of that thing, and then the negative version of that thing here. So your graph will look something like this. For some strange reason, this apps thing here will disregard everything that's negative. So if you try and sketch this, if you try and sketch this here, so you would sketch a graph of y equals -3 as normal. So you would try and sketch this graph here as normal. So this is your origin here, 0, 0 here, and then if you try and sketch y equals -3, it will look like this. Now, as we've seen that the absolute of y, it would disregard everything that's negative. So really, it should disregard everything here. So if you try and consider this one particular point, 4, -3. So the x value here will be 4. Okay, and the y value will be -3. So this is -3. If you put 4 into the x, well, there's no x here. So consider as -3 now, and then this is y is -3. Put it into here. So you have -3, absolute value of -3, but then the absolute value of -3 is 3, and then you see this thing here is now a positive, but then it will never satisfy a -3. So any point, the point here is that this thing here will never be satisfied when it's in the negative realm. If you try and select another point on this line here, let's say this one here, so this is your x, -2. This here is your y. Okay, your y, put it into here. So this will become -3, absolute here, and and then you would put this into your x, but because there's no x, it will remain as negative 3. Well, this thing here will be a positive 3. The absolute value of negative 3 will be a positive 3. So you can see that this side here would never satisfy this side here. So therefore, that's why that's why this absolute here, it will disregard everything that's negative. Okay, just bear that in mind.